Did you know I once spent half my monthly budget on a fancy gadget that broke within a week? Now that's a budgeting blunder. Picture this, my friends, the early days of my financial voyage, a time when the concept of budgeting was as foreign to me as quantum physics. My wallet was a battlefield, and money, a fleeing soldier. The lack of knowledge was astonishing. I was a wanderer in the financial wilderness, with no compass to guide me. I, like many, made some common errors. One of them was not factoring in unexpected expenses. I thought I had everything under control. But then, life happened. And boy, did it hit me hard. From car repairs to medical bills, the unforeseen costs piled up, leaving my budget in ruins. Then there were the misconceptions. I believed that budgeting was a restrictive practice, a shackle on my financial freedom. Little did I know it was the exact opposite. Budgeting was the key to managing my money effectively, making it work for me, not against me. Now let's travel back to the time when my financial goals were as simple as saving enough for the latest video game or a weekend getaway. My spending habits? Well, let's just say I was a bit of a spendthrift. Impulse purchases were my Achilles heel. And this brings us to the gadget story. A brand new high-tech gizmo caught my eye. You know the story. It was sleek, shiny, and promised to change my life. So I splurged. Half my monthly budget gone in a flash. And the gadget? It broke within a week. Talk about a budgeting blunder of epic proportions. So that's how I started. A complete financial novice. A young lad who thought he had it all figured out only to realize that the world of finance was a labyrinth. But don't you worry, things changed, and so did my budgeting skills. The journey from blunders to wisdom was one heck of a ride, and I can't wait to share it with you. So buckle up, folks, because this ride is about to get interesting. From a budgeting novice to a savvy saver, the journey wasn't easy, but it was worth it. Let's rewind to my early days of financial management. Picture a young, clueless fellow whose idea of budgeting was merely ensuring the bank balance didn't hit zero. My financial goals then? Well, they were as simple as earn more, spend less. However, as the years rolled by, I realized that these goals were as vague as they were unhelpful. There was a dire need for a structured approach, a method to my madness. I began by outlining my financial goals. They evolved from the simple spend less to more tangible targets like save enough for a vacation or set aside a portion for retirement. This approach gave me a clear vision of where my money was going and what I was working towards. Now, let's talk about spending habits. Back in my naive days, I was quite the impulsive shopper, always falling for the latest gadgets or the flashiest clothes. Over time, I realized that these purchases gave only momentary joy, followed by a long-lasting dent in my wallet. Gradually, I learned to distinguish between wants and needs, thereby curbing my impulse purchases. As for budgeting methods, I started with a simple spreadsheet, jotting down every penny earned and spent. It was a good start, but as my finances grew more complex, I found the need for something more sophisticated. I explored various budgeting tools and apps, finally settling on one that suited my needs. It allowed me to categorize my expenses, set saving goals, and even gave me a visual representation of my spending patterns. The journey to financial growth is not a sprint, but a marathon. It's about making small, consistent changes and learning from past mistakes. For instance, that one time I invested in a hot stock tip, only to lose a chunk of my savings. It was a harsh lesson, but it taught me the importance of informed investing. And that's how I progressed, learning from my mistakes and constantly improving. So remember, it's not about being perfect right off the bat, but about growing, evolving, and becoming financially smarter with each passing day. Looking back, I can say this journey taught me a lot. It wasn't just about saving money, but about understanding its value. In the grand scheme of things, money is just a tool, a means to an end, not the end itself. It's a vehicle that can take you wherever you want to go, but it's up to you to steer it in the right direction. That's one of the first nuggets of wisdom I garnered from my budgeting journey. Let me tell you, it's not about how much money you make, but how much you keep, and more importantly, how many generations you keep it for. That's the essence of financial wisdom. It's about making your money work for you, instead of you working for it. I used to think that budgeting was about restricting what you spend, like putting a leash on your lifestyle. But now, I know it's about enabling you to spend without regret or worry. It's about being in control of your finances, instead of letting them control you. And let's talk about financial freedom. It's not about being rich or having a lot of money. It's about having enough to cover your needs and wants, without being stressed or worried about it. It's about living a life where money is a tool, not a master. I've learned that it's not just about cutting expenses, but about optimizing them. It's about finding the balance between saving and spending, between planning for the future and living in the present. I've come to realize that financial knowledge is power. The more you understand about money, the better decisions you can make, and the better decisions you make, the closer you get to achieving your financial goals. And let's not forget about the value of money. It's not just a piece of paper or a number in a bank account, it's a representation of your time, your effort, your skills, and your potential. When you understand this, you start seeing money in a whole new light. So what's the takeaway from my budgeting journey? If I could go back and tell my younger self about money, I'd have a lot to say. First off, I'd tell myself to respect the power of a budget. It's easy to dismiss it as a boring spreadsheet, but it's a roadmap guiding you to financial freedom. It's not about deprivation, but about making informed decisions. Younger me thought a budget was a cage, but now I understand it's a compass. Next, I'd say, don't be afraid of making mistakes. I've made plenty, from buying that fancy espresso machine I used twice to investing in that can't-miss stock that did, in fact, miss. What's important is to learn from these financial blunders. Each one is a lesson that helps shape your financial acumen, turning you into a savvy budgeter. I would also stress the importance of setting financial goals. Without them, you're like a ship without a destination, aimlessly floating in the sea of finances. These goals don't have to be lofty, like buying a yacht or a mansion. It could be as simple as saving for a vacation or paying off student loans. Just remember, your goals should be smart, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. No budgeting conversation is complete without talking about savings. I'd tell my younger self to start saving earlier and more consistently. It doesn't matter if it's just a few dollars a week. Over time, it adds up and can be a lifesaver during unexpected financial hiccups. And finally, I'd remind myself that personal finance is just that, personal. What works for one person might not work for another. It's about finding a budgeting method that suits your lifestyle and sticking to it. Whether it's the envelope system, zero-based budgeting, or the 50-30-20 rule, find your fit and make it work. In conclusion, budgeting is a journey, not a destination. It evolves with you, adapting to your changing needs and circumstances. So keep learning, keep growing, and remember, every dollar counts. Remember, it's not about the mistakes you make, but the lessons you learn from them. So there you have it, my budgeting journey from a novice to a savvy saver. We've seen how my financial goals evolved, how my spending habits transformed, and how my budgeting methods matured over time. From my first ever budget, which was more of a guesswork, to my current one, a well-thought-out plan that helps me stay on track. It was a journey filled with trials, errors, and a lot of learning. We've laughed at my early budgeting blunders, and we've acknowledged the wisdom gained from those experiences. Remember, it's crucial to learn from our financial mistakes and understand the value of money. It's not about how much you earn, but how wisely you spend and save. So let's take these lessons to heart, folks. Let's continue to grow, to budget smartly, and to make informed financial decisions. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Here's to making smart budgeting decisions and learning along the way.